Wonderful. If we could, Aquila, would you mind just grabbing the 2 mics? That'd be awesome for these guys. Thank you. So good. Well, it's just such a joy. So there is going to be a number on the screen as well that is going straight to my phone. And throughout this series, so we're focusing today on spending and saving. And we want to hear from you. If you have some tips, so maybe some, when you're at the supermarket, little tips you do, or things that you do that have helped you to be able to save, we would love you to text your life hacks. And in a moment during this, I'm going to read them out as we do this panel. But let's hear from these guys. So we have Alison, a fabulous chartered accountant, with us this morning. Tell us about yourself, Alison. Are we on? Hello, hello, hello.
Okay. Yeah, so for those that don't know me, I'm Alison Holmes. My husband Ben and I have been at this church for about 7 years now. My husband is the long-haired electric guitar player. And you'll usually find me on the stage as well. We both love music and God. So that's why we're part of the creative team. So I'm originally from Auckland. Ben's from Whirianga, so we try to get down to the Coromandel. And like Pastor Ben said, I'm a chartered accountant. So I've been a chartered accountant for 9 years, working in an accounting firm for 12 years. And then last year, I got my certificate of public practice. So I work for a firm called Grant Thornton, where I'm a director, and then we also own our own business. Ben's a air conditioning refrigeration technician. So in my spare time, I help with that. So that's a bit about me.
Yeah, awesome, so good, and wonderful to have you on the panel today. Pastor Shane.
Okay, I started my working life as an accountant, chartered accountant, worked for 10 years in industry, and then felt God called me out of that to study the Bible. So I studied for ministry for about 7 years, and then, as they say, if you can't do it, then teach it. So I ended up teaching in a Bible college and was principal of Apostolic Bible College for about 3 years, then Elam Bible College, it's now the Elam Leadership College. In those days it was Ministry Training College, principal there for about 15 years. And then since then I've been pastoring. Yep.
Awesome. So let's just get into it and talk about spending and spending habits, and most people are either a saver or a spender naturally. Give us a wave if you're a saver. You're just someone that you don't like to spend. You just love to save and save it up and save it up. Give us a wave if you're probably more the spender. You freely give, freely spend, freely go. Yeah. All right, cool. Great. So I just want to know who I'm talking to here this morning. Some of you are like, I'm Jesus. I'm the perfect balance of both. Whatever. All right. So we talk about spending. Why do we get in so much trouble with our spending? Whether it be as a nation or what are your thoughts there?
Sure. So I just wanted to give some sort of facts, I guess. So the percentage of New Zealanders with negative net wealth, so that means owing more than you own, is on the rise. And according to the Retirement Commission, 11.9% of Kiwis are now in arrears on their loans.
So that means 12% of Kiwis are defaulting on their loans. Is that what that means?
Yeah. Behind on their payments.
Yeah, right.
I think sort of following on from what you were saying last week, when you sang that song to us.
What song did I sing last week?
You said, be careful little eyes what
you
see.
Okay.
And be careful little ears what you hear.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm with you now.
Yeah. So I think we all need to take some time to reflect on what's influencing us. With advancing technology, advertisements on your social media, on your streaming services, they are tailored to your search history. So these influencers, these celebrities, these movies, these sports, these shows, they're all paid to endorse these products and try and make us think that we need these things. And our children are being influenced too. So, yeah, it's just what is influencing you, whereas God called us to be content. So in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 8, so if we have enough food and clothing, let us be content. In Luke chapter 12, verse 15, and he said to them, take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions.
Yeah, that's really good. You know, as you're saying that about you got to be careful, you know, advertisements and things we see, it just kind of, I'm reminded of, I remember catching up with a guy and you know, and he rolls up to the coffee club and he's got just an incredible car. You know, I'm not a car person. I can't tell you what it was. It was like this awesome, bright, beautiful looking ute, you know, just an incredible kind of car. But I knew the job he did, you know, and you know, and I didn't say anything at first, you know, and he's like, oh, how nice is my car? Isn't that great? I've got such a nice car. And I don't know, he's kind of raving about it. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Yeah, it's a cool car. And anyway, after we get chatting for about an hour, he's like, oh, I'm really struggling, you know. These car repayments are killing me. Like, it's so much and da-da-da-da. And, you know, and I'm talking to him, and he's basically saying that he wanted the nice car so he looks the part. So he keep up with the image to everyone else that he's awesome and he's amazing, you know. But it's killing him and putting stress on his relationship. And why would you do that? Why you're gonna, you know, have this flash car that you can't afford to look good to other people, but internally be like, you know, struggling and stressed out about it. So, yeah, I think we've got to be so careful. We're not trying to keep up with the Joneses or think we, you know, need this. You know, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's God's opinion that matters, and
yes.
In that situation, like imagine the stress and strain that's putting on the family, right? The actual people
yes.
that love and support you, whereas like I don't know, the other people don't matter. They don't care. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, awesome.
I think ultimately it's either the world or it's God, isn't it? And the scripture says that he who loves the world and the things of the world, the love of the Father is not in him.
Yeah, good. So Shane, while we're on that, what does the Bible say about spending?
Well, basically, it seems to warn against self-centeredness and also the consumption assumption. And I'll just come to that in a moment. Self-centeredness in James 4:3. When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures. So that's the self-centeredness. Consumption assumption, that's basically the assumption that everything I get is mine and I can, just focus on myself and spend it all on myself. There's no other responsibility to anyone else. And we have the story of the rich man and Lazarus in Luke chapter 16. I won't, read all that. It's too long. But basically, the rich man lived in luxury, wore fine clothes, and lived in luxury every day. And at his gate was laid this beggar who longed to get some crumbs that fell from his table. And after they both died, he was judged. Now, and the Lazarus went to heaven. And when you look at what the rich man did, he didn't do anything bad, you know. Basically, he was judged because of the consumption assumption. He just assumed that all that he got was for him to enjoy. And he forgot about, the needs around him. There was also a similar story where a guy, had a really prosperous year. And he said, what am I going to do? And he said, well, I know what I'll do. I'll build some barns and that, and so I can store all my stuff. And then I can say to myself, take it easy. You've got so much accumulated for the future. And then God said to him, look, this very night your soul will be required of you, and then who's going to get all you laid up for yourself? And Jesus said it'll be the same for anyone, like that, who is not rich towards God. Again, the guy's problem was the consumption assumption. Everything that I have is for me, what am I going to do, all this stuff. But we need to be rich towards God, and we need to think of those around us. And it says in Luke chapter 16, verses 10 to 11, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? See, this is our testing ground. We don't have the true riches yet, but God gives us the worldly wealth. Okay, guys, let's see how you go. Give you a whole heap, give you less, give you more. And let's see how you go. Who proves himself trustworthy in handling the little will also be trustworthy and, worthy to handle the much that's going to come.
So good. Yeah. So good. So many awesome keys there. We've got a question from the audience for Alison. What should someone do if they need a V8 pickup truck? From Anonymous.
That's my husband. I don't think I should dignify that with a response, but at least we have some comedic value in the bringing.
Awesome. So good. Well, I'm going to get to the next question, which is about limiting spending. What can people do to limit spending? But as we do that, if we could have that number on the screen, I would love to start hearing some life hacks that I can share in say 5 or so minutes on what are some little life hacks you have to save that helps you save a bit extra each week. What are some little life hacks, tips? I'd love to read out responses from the audience. So let's get to the next question. And Alison, you can do this one. What can people do to help limit their spending? Let's hear from you.
Yeah, okay. So I just have some sort of life hacks, mainly around the grocery store, but I think with the cost of living, like the weekly food bill is sort of a big burden sometimes. So I'd say keep it simple. Focus on staples like potatoes, rice, milk, carrots, bananas, frozen chicken, things that are usually reasonably priced. And then also shop in season. So like right now, kiwi fruit and mandarins are pretty decent pricing. But I'd also suggest making the grocery store fun. So I'd find a friend, find a family member. So I actually tend to go to the supermarket with my mum. It's like our little time together. We chat, we have a good time. And so like multi-buy deals or larger quantities of things. So like 10 kilos of potatoes, 30 tray of eggs, 4 kilos of washing powder. We'll buy them and we'll split them. So that actually, not only do I get to catch up with my mum, but I'm also, buying the larger quantity that's quite a lot cheaper. And then I would say limit eating out. So always try to bring your own lunch and snacks. Even if that means buying a few more convenience things at the supermarket, like cans of tuna or a hot chicken or whatever. They're a little bit more expensive because you do pay for the convenience, but it's a lot cheaper than eating out. Be prepared. So my husband's on the road all the time, so I just give him this little bag of non-perishable stuff that he keeps in the van, so if he ends up working late or doesn't quite get to heat up his lunch, at least he has a few things that he can just kind of grab and eat on the road. Just to really limit that spending on food.
That's very kind of you to look after your husband like that. Does he also want a V8 truck?
I know, right? He does also want a V8 pickup truck. Yeah.
I'm ungrateful, no.
Well, we better keep eating those cans of tuna then if we're going to afford that.
Yeah.
I've got some.
Yeah. Let's hear from you, Shane.
Okay, well, just 5 thoughts on limiting spending. I think, firstly, you need to be in agreement with your husband or wife. So I would discuss and just make sure you're in agreement. And I think Pastor Ben's going to come to that later. And, I'd pray about it together with you. And then based on your agreement, then draw up a budget. I think a budget can be really important because that's where you sort of reach agreement, and then in the future you can come back to it and say, hey, but we said in the budget that we would do this. Now, maybe you haven't got a budget. Well, we've got some notes going around the life groups which have a couple of budgets. One really good one on Sorted you can do online, does all the adding for you, and also a paper version. If you're not in a life group and you'd like that, then come and see me afterwards, or go to the Yes Bar and we'll be able to give you something. And then the third tip would be to cut up credit cards. They get a lot of people into a lot of trouble, and I would just use cash or a debit card. That way you only buy what you can actually afford. I think that's an important one. Next one is to shop around, and I think Alison touched on that. And on Google, they've got a really good thing you can select. Instead of selecting just a general search on something, you can select videos or pictures, or you can select shopping. And if you put in an item you want and select shopping, then it'll give you all the stores nearby that have that and what prices they have it at. And so it's a way of saving money, particularly on any asset purchases. If you're in a hole, my final tip would be to seek help. There's a good organisation, Christians Against Poverty, which can help get people out of debt holes. Or come and see us, put your name down at the Yes Bar, or welcome to see any of us, and we're more than happy to see if we can help. Awesome. Some really, really great thoughts. Let me read out some things that we've heard from the audience as well. Here we go. An anonymous one. Don't take your wife with you to the supermarket if you're only getting 1 or 2 items. Right. All right. Okay. Well, unless your wife's a saver, then you're all good, hey. Grocer app, here we go. There's an app called Grocer app. You pick the supermarkets you shop at. This app compares products and includes products on sale. Oh, that's really cool. Awesome. Another one, never do the grocery shop when you're hungry. Oh my goodness, so true. When you're hungry, you just buy it. Buy everything you see, hey. Take a list and stick to it. Buy in bulk and separate in smaller portions later. It's much cheaper that way. Another person says, same person says, don't order drinks when out for dinner. Water is free. Sugar drinks can just fill up the tummy of the kids and not good for their teeth and can sugar spike them. We're getting some health advice too. Praise God. Awesome. Thank you. Gaspy app. Gaspy app shows you where your closest, cheapest petrol is. Awesome. So we've got Gaspy and we've got Grocer app. That's so cool. So brilliant. Another person has said use the Grocer app as well. One person has said don't have kids. What? I vote get rid of the kids. Maybe that's when you're shopping. Is that what you're saying? Don't take the kids shopping. We'll put it that way. I'm not sure. Make a list and stick to your budget. We get our kids to add up what we spend as we go around the supermarket. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. One thing we do is we shop online with Pack and Save. So it means you don't end up seeing something there that you grab or all that kind of deal. Plus, it's easier than taking 3 young children to the shops. Awesome. So we've got some good tips. Awesome. Feel free to keep sending those tips in, whether it's around spending, saving money, etc. Let's cross into saving now. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we go to saving? That's all good.
I was just going to say that I loved that getting the kids to help you add it up. It's like a great way to spend time with your kids, like teaching them about maths and about, saving and, the value of money and stuff. That's awesome.
Awesome. So good. So let's get into saving. What does the Bible say about saving? Do you want to go?
Well, just a couple of verses. The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp these down. So that's saving. And Proverbs 13:22, a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous.
Yeah, awesome. So good. So anything you want to add to that before I get into the next question, which is, why can it be so hard for some people to save money? Yeah.
I had a couple of verses as
Yeah,
well.
awesome.
So Proverbs 13:11, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. So that's sort of like what you were talking about last week about the lotto winners, how,
Yes.
within a year's time, they're broke again. It's amazing when you've earned it, right? Proverbs 13:22, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteous. The righteousness.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, so let's go into why can it be so hard. There might be, people here going, man, it's so hard to save money. I'm trying to make ends meet week to week. And, have you got any thoughts you want to share on that? Why could it be so hard for some to save?
I think we probably answered that a little bit in that earlier question about spending. I think it comes back to the culture, and as Alison was saying, the media trying to get us to spend and buy stuff we don't really need. I like what Ralph Nader used to say. He says, I live simply so that others can simply live. And the media tries to get us away from that, You need this, you need that, you need the flash car.
Yeah, I would also say that we don't talk about things enough. There's this sort of stigma or feeling shame or embarrassment, but there's asking for help is, there's no shame in that.
Yeah.
Proverbs 15:22, without counsel plans fail, but with many advisors they succeed. Proverbs 27 verse 9, the heartfelt counsel of a friend is as sweet as perfume and incense. Everyone has concerns about money. We all have to make decisions every day about money. And in my work, I see a lot of people who by worldly standards would be considered very successful. But for most, or for a lot, it's actually cost them their marriage, right? So you have to remember that you exchange your time for money, and sometimes that time is better spent at home loving your family. So what Pastor Shane was saying about talking about it and coming to an agreement, if you're, I guess the question I would say to ask yourself is, do you really need that money, that extra money, or are you striving to achieve something that actually is not what you should be striving for?
Cost,
yeah, you do have to count the cost. I loved that you shared on when you took that second job, and it was just the cost was too high for the family, right? And so then, but through some research and talking to other people, you figured out a better way, with the students. There are other ways, and we just need to talk to each other, pray about it.
That's right.
Philippians 4 verse 6, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus.
Yeah, awesome. So good, so good. So some saving tips. Let's hear from some saving tips. I'll check if I've got any from the audience anymore. No, we're up to date at the moment. So
I think, if you're talking about long-term saving for a house, even retirement, I think it's hard to go past KiwiSaver. I think it's a great way of saving because the money comes out before you even see it. So you don't even, have to make a decision each week. And when you need to buy a house where all of a sudden you've got a lot there and you've got the compounding interest and everything. Also, I think it's good to embrace the principle of delayed gratification. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that or if I should.
No, go.
Okay. So basically, we may have something big that we want. It may be a house, but we may be tempted, look, let's go for a holiday over to Rarotonga, and or whatever. And so you're getting your gratification instantly, but it means you miss out on the bigger item. And I think if you keep the big item in focus a lot, hey, we want to go for a house, let's delay our gratification. And focusing on the positive of what you're going for makes it easier to say no. Whereas if you just say no, that's just hard, isn't it? But if you're focusing, we're going to have this nice house, it's going to have 4 bedrooms, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So,
I love that because it's less about what I'm saying no to. It's more about what I'm saying yes to. Because every time we say no to something, it's because we're saying yes to something else, right? So no to what I want now or whatever, to say yes for that, that other greater thing. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Anything you want to add to that, Alison, on tips for saving?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of similar. Just again, being conscious, like what you're seeing on people's social media or what, like everyone talks about the highs, right? Like, we went to, whatever, and we did this and we did that, and you're like, why can't I do those things? But it's somebody's highlight reel. Like they're not necessarily sharing with you about the low times,
the sacrifice.
The 70-hour work weeks or whatever it is they did to get that thing. And I know for me, like when we started saving for the house, like having that dream or that goal, it made it easier. And then having the plan, having the budget, right? That's all it is. It's just a plan for how you're going to get there. Yeah. So it was,
Yeah, and I think like budget, especially like if you're a spender, right, and you want to have fun with what you have and all that. Budgeting can sound like a very boring thing, right? It can sound like that's just going to kill all my fun, and all the cool things I want to do, And I'm saying this as a person that likes to have fun and do stuff, etc. But the revelation I had, it's just attaching purpose to every dollar that I have. It's attaching a vision for my money, a vision for my finance. So it's not actually wrecking fun. It's actually bringing freedom, so you're able to have what you really want to have, or what God has called you to do, you're able to do. And it was so true what you were saying, Pastor Jane, about KiwiSaver and preparing for the future. We want to leave a legacy for the next generation. And so I'm setting my kids up. We got the idea from Melody actually a few years ago, putting away a little bit of money every week so that when my kids are 21, they will have a decent amount to contribute to a house. And so helping to set them up as well, in the next generation. In regards to retirement, and Roger, you could probably give me more clarity. What's roughly the pension, Roger? $700 a fortnight. So you're getting about $350 a week. Yeah, so $350 a week per person. So if you don't own a house and it's paid off by the time you retire, because the pension isn't set up to, it's really set up that you would, it's not going to cover all your living expenses whatsoever, right?
It's built on the assumption that you will own your own house or you're in some kind of state housing.
Yeah. So unless we are taking steps towards that, it will be like very incredibly tight, in that. And sometimes as a younger person, in my 30s, and if you're younger here, it can feel like, oh, that's ages away. But I do think it's important to start, the earlier we start, the better, for sure, to help just prepare for that. Yeah, can be really good. So, yeah, awesome. So, I've got here we go, another savings tip. Write up a budget, breaking down all the costs and expenses into weekly amounts or your pay period to help plan ahead with your spending. Awesome. Some great thoughts there. Thank you. So next question. So this is a question that I'm going to answer that's on the screen. Have we got that in? It's what that one says. What do you do if you are a saver, but your husband or wife is a spender? Ooh, let's see it again. Give us a wave, all the savers. Get your hand up. Get it up big. Awesome. Give us a wave, the spenders. Right. Awesome. You spenders, you're loud and proud, hey? You're like, yeah. Ooh, I'm the fun one. No, calm down. Cool. So what do you do? Well, look, the truth is, for most of us, we've married someone different to us, okay? So the truth is, and it's not even that one is better than the other. See, the spenders think, I'm more fun, I'm cool. The savers are like, no, I'm a better steward with my money. So we each think we're better. The spender will help the saver to be able to be more generous. They will help them to be able to maybe have a bit of fun, maybe go out for a dinner once in a while or do a holiday, etc. The saver will also help things be managed well, be able to work towards goals, etc. So I think the strengths of both, and it's important in marriage, because there's often going to be differences and disagreements and all that. It's important that we always exercise humility, and we come into agreement together. And that's through communication. It's through humility. It's through having God's heart to love each other as Christ has loved us and honor each other. And so I think you've just got to come to agreement. And if you haven't done a budget, you've got to have that budget. I also check in with Joel about different things that we need to buy and vice versa. So I think just honoring each other and communicating, like that's, important for us. And sometimes that's even little things. That's not necessarily, hey, I'm going to buy this big thing, It could just be a small thing as well, because we've got some things we're working towards, some goals, etc. So communicating together, leaning into each other's strengths. I am a big believer that married people should have joint accounts. I think if you're separate with money, is separate. I feel like it's like when you get married, you're not living separate lives. It's all together. You're joined in unity together. And so I'm a believer in joint account. It doesn't mean you can't have, all right, this is my play money and I can, whatever. And we have that. We've got, a portion for, if you want to buy a coffee or whatever, that's all fine. But I am a big believer in having joint accounts. You're in unity together. It's not, this is my money and that's your money. It's like, it's ours. And there's no entitlement because one is earning more than the other. Because everything I have is God's anyway. I'm just a steward of it. And I'm a steward of it, firstly for him, secondly for my family, and to take care of them. And I think also having trust is really important in your around this. And so if you've had people abuse your trust, whether that be financially or whether that be emotionally or physically or in any way that you've experienced betrayal, that may cause you to not trust in your relationship and in finance as well. So I think, that's really, Yeah, really important, just to seek healing and just chat about it. You know what, this morning we might have said stuff that's opened up a can that you're going to talk about later. Talk about it. Seek wise counsel. Get into the scriptures for yourself. See what God says to you, that you can flourish with your saving and your spending. Yeah, and commit it to God. Yeah, so awesome. Cool, everyone. Well, that concludes our panel today. It was so good to have Pastor Shane and Alison with us. Any final thoughts or remarks you want to say before we finish?
I just think if anybody would like a little bit of advice or help, then come and see us or put your name at the yes bar and we'll get hold of you.
Awesome. Wonderful. Cool. Well, thank you so much. Can we give him a big hand? Wonderful. Well, I'm just about